Today I'm going to talk about our brains. Our brains, that's right. The thing inside of our heads. This is an important topic. You see, our brains, my brain, your brain, they all have a certain characteristic. In other words, there are certain ways of learning that are easier and more effective. And there are certain ways of learning that are more difficult and less effective. This is especially true of memory. There are certain ways of remembering things that your brain likes, that are easy for your brain, and therefore more powerful, more effective. And then there are other ways of trying to remember things which are less effective. Let's talk about something very simple, a very simple idea. Imagine two events or two experiences. One event happens one day, and it's just normal. So it's you get up, you go to a bus stop, and you meet a very normal person. And they are wearing very normal clothes. They look normal, their hair's normal, everything about them is normal. You ask them their name. Hi, how are you? Oh, what's your name? They have a very normal name. In the United States, maybe they have a name like John Smith. Totally normal name. And then they say goodbye and they get on their bus and they leave, or they walk away. Now, the next day, you go to the bus stop again. And this time, you meet someone who is very strange. Their hair is blue. They made their hair blue color. And they are from a different country. They're not from your country. They are from a different country. And they're wearing very strange clothes, purple and green clothes. Their clothes are colored purple and green. Purple pants and a bright green shirt. And when they talk, they're very energetic and they're very excited about everything. During the conversation, you ask their name, and they have a slightly strange name. Maybe their name is something like Jeremiah Winkerton, which is a strange name in the United States. Jeremiah Winkerton. And you have to ask them again because it's a little strange. So you say, excuse me, what is your name? They say, Jeremiah Winkerton. And then they get on their bus and they go away, or they walk away. So now my simple question to you is, 1 month later, which person will you remember? Which person are you most likely to remember? Which name are you most likely to remember? Now, you might forget the names, you might forget both names, but in terms of the people, you're probably going to remember the strange person, right? Jeremiah Winkerton. You'll remember, oh my God, he had purple pants and he had this bright green shirt and he was really excited all the time. He had that strange name. Whereas the normal guy, John Smith, wearing normal clothes, doing everything normally, talking in a very normal way, he'll be much easier to forget. So this is an obvious example, right? We all understand this. We all can see this example. Yeah, of course, the strange person is more memorable. Memorable means easy to remember. But see, this is an important point for all kinds of learning. Because this is how your brain works. Your brain remembers things which are strange and different. It remembers those more easily than things which are normal. Your brain remembers things which are more emotional better than it remembers things which are less emotional. Interesting. So the question is, how can we use this idea in our own learning, and specifically in your English learning? So I ask this question a lot as a teacher, as an English teacher. How can I use this to help my students remember vocabulary more easily, pronunciation more easily, and just generally improve their English faster, better, and more easily? Well, what I do with Effortless English is that I try to focus on things which are memorable, which are a little strange, a little different, and which have more emotion. That's why I use a lot of emotion when I teach. In my live seminars, my live classes, where there are actually people in a room and I'm teaching to a class, we use a lot of emotion and a lot of energy. So that's part of the reason we do physical actions. Physical actions also help to make something easier to remember and to learn. But physical actions also increase your energy, which again makes things easier to remember. And especially it's because we're using a lot of emotion in our classes too. So when I tell strange stories, I'm doing that because it will help you remember more easily. The stories are strange because strange is easier to remember than normal. See, in the stories, I could tell you a normal story. When I'm using my mini stories, for example, or like in our VIP program, I use a mini story every month. And the mini stories really help a lot with grammar especially, but they also teach vocabulary. Now, I could just tell a totally normal story, like a lot of textbooks do, right? Just say, John was a businessman, and he went to his job, and he had a problem at his job, but he solved the problem, and then he went home, and he was happy. So that's a very normal kind of story. It's not very memorable. Your brain will not remember that a long time. So instead, what I do, I tell more strange stories. Usually, the characters in the stories are animals or celebrities, right? Not normal people. Instead, I tell stories about cats and dogs and spiders and fish. Or I tell stories about, crazy, weird celebrities or strange people. And they're often doing strange and different things. Of course, this is more interesting. It's more entertaining to you. It's more fun. But the reason it's more fun and entertaining is that your brain enjoys strangeness. Your brain enjoys things which are different, unique. And not only does your brain enjoy those things, your brain remembers those things. So if you listen to a story in the past tense, and the story is strange and different, maybe a little weird, maybe a little funny, maybe emotional, you will actually learn the past tense more easily. This is the problem in schools. Schools teach the past tense in the most boring way possible. And because it's boring, you don't remember it. So, for example, in school, you learn a lot of irregular verbs, right? Eat, and the past of eat is what? Ate. Then we have teach, and the past tense of teach is taught. Right? These are irregular. You don't just add ed to the end. No, the words change. So in school, how do you learn these words? You just try to memorize them. Eat, ate, teach, taught, teach, taught. Eventually, you do memorize some of them, especially the most common ones, like eat and ate. But a lot of them you forget, or it's difficult for you to remember and use them automatically.